A well-known boxer arrested right here in South Florida. Gervonta Davis is accused of assaulting his ex-girlfriend in Doral.
What if I told you that one of the biggest fights Netflix has ever promoted just completely fell apart 10 days before it was supposed to happen? We're talking about a massive production, millions in promotion, Times Square press conferences, and then nothing. Gone. Canceled. I'm talking about Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis.
The Jake Paul Tank Davis fight has officially been canceled. It is not happening in 9 days' time.
So what happened? Gervonta put hands on his wife?
You know, Tank Davis has a checkered past. He had a checkered past when this fight was made. What changed? Well, obviously, 2 incidents, allegations, lawsuit. Since the fight was announced, they at the time felt like this was an opportunity for people to learn about who Tank Davis is, for him to show the world that he was a changed man, all this stuff and more, and that didn't happen, and they felt like they had to cancel the event. I feel like this was 100% the right call. You can't be a promotion that is so heavily invested in women's boxing and work with a guy who has allegations and lawsuits pending like Tank Davis does. You just can't.
The story of how this became such a spectacular failure is way more interesting than the actual fight probably would have been. So stick around, because today we're breaking down the rise and fall of what was supposed to be Jake Paul's most legitimate boxing challenge yet, and why literally everyone involved just hit the eject button. Let me take you back to September 2025. Netflix is riding high. They just did the Mike Tyson fight, which pulled 108 million viewers. And Netflix's thinking is simple. If people will watch an old Mike Tyson, they'll absolutely show up for a real pound-for-pound elite fighter versus Jake Paul. Enter Davis. Tank is the real deal. He's an undefeated super featherweight and lightweight champion. When this fight got announced, the narrative was juicy. A YouTuber challenging one of boxing's most elite fighters. It's the kind of matchup that creates conversation. And the promotion, absolutely relentless. Times Square press conference where Tank literally shoved Jake on stage. They announced a $2 million side bet just to add fuel to the fire. The buildup was everywhere. Social media, mainstream sports coverage, interviews where they kept talking up this as Jake's biggest test yet. November 14th, Netflix, Madison Square Garden, prime time. Everything was set. This was supposed to be massive, and then it wasn't. On November 5th, literally 10 days before fight night, MVP, the promoter behind this whole thing, made an announcement. The fight was canceled, just like that. The official reason? Legal issues involving Tank. They didn't go into specifics publicly, but the timing was too convenient to ignore. Just weeks earlier, in October, a new lawsuit had emerged involving allegations against Tank.
Baltimore boxing champion Gervonta Tank Davis faces new abuse claims from a woman who claims to be his ex-girlfriend. Courtney Rossell says she dated Davis for 5 months and recently filed a civil lawsuit accusing him of aggravated battery, false imprisonment, and other offenses.
The promotion continued anyway, kept pushing the hype, and then suddenly they couldn't anymore. But the fight was probably already dying before the lawsuit gave them an exit. Ticket sales data tells you everything you need to know. We're talking about Madison Square Garden, Netflix's massive platform, 2 controversial fighters with huge social media followings, and what percentage of tickets actually sold? Around 70% for the fight. For a Netflix production that's supposed to be this huge cultural event, that's not sold out. That's not even close to the narrative they were selling. When you're promoting something that hard and you can't even fill 70% of a 20,000 seat venue, that's a red flag the size of a small country. So what went wrong? Let's break this down into 3 parts. First, the business side. Netflix and MVP put all their chips in on this fight. They spent millions on promotion, they got primetime slots, they built the narrative, and the market said, we're not that interested. Think about it. Versus Mike Tyson, a cultural icon who hasn't fought in 19 years? Huge. But Jake Paul versus an elite fighter he has no legitimate connection to? That doesn't have the same juice. Fans knew Tank would probably win. Paul's true believers were hyped, but the casual audience, the 108 million people who watched Tyson, they weren't showing up. The ticket sales proved it. Second, the weight class problem. This fight was always weird. Jake at 227 pounds, Tank at 135 pounds. Either Paul wins, and it doesn't mean much because of the size advantage, or Tank wins and Paul fans say, well, he was fighting someone half his size. There was no winning narrative here, and I think both sides knew that. Third, the legal elephant in the room. Tank's history was always public knowledge. His record wasn't a secret, but as more details came out in October, as the lawsuit details surfaced, MVP and Netflix had to make a decision. Do we move forward with this, or do we cut bait? The financial calculation is brutal. The lawsuit creates liability. It creates PR problems. The ticket sales are mediocre, and suddenly, canceling the fight starts making more business sense than proceeding. Here's what's not being said out loud, but everyone in the industry knows. This fight would have been a money loser for Netflix and MVP if it happened. Think about it. They've already spent millions promoting it. They've got the venue. They've got the production costs. But if ticket sales stay at 70%, if the PPV numbers don't explode because the casual audience isn't buying it, you're looking at a financial underperformance compared to the Tyson fight. Netflix is thinking, we already took the L on marketing spend. Do we throw good money after bad by actually putting on a mediocre fight that underperforms expectations? Or do we cancel, take the hit, and preserve our credibility for the next spectacle? They chose option 2. And honestly, from a business perspective, it might be the smarter move. A disappointing fight is worse PR than no fight at all. So where do we go from here? Jake Paul is already looking for the next opponent. We're hearing rumors about Nate Diaz, about other potential fights. He's trying to spin the narrative into, I was willing to fight Tank, but legal issues got in the way. Fair enough. That's what he's saying publicly. But the reality is that the spectacle era, the Netflix boxing bubble we've been living in, just took a massive hit. The model of find a celebrity with a big platform and have them fight a real fighter looked invincible after the Tyson number. But Tank Paul exposed the weakness. If the matchup doesn't have real cultural resonance, if ticket sales prove nobody actually wants to see it, you can't just will it into existence with promotion. For Tank, the implications are different. He loses momentum. He loses money. He's now got legal stuff to deal with. His career took a hit on a fight that didn't even happen. For boxing as a whole, this is a wake-up call. You can't manufacture hype forever. Eventually, the market catches up with reality. When Netflix's unlimited budget and Paul's massive platform couldn't overcome the fundamental problem, most people didn't care that much about this fight. The cancellation wasn't really about the lawsuit. It was about ticket sales. It was about the market saying no. And for the first time in the Jake Paul Netflix era, the machine had to listen. And that's the real story here. What do you guys think about this situation? Please give us your opinion in the comments.
We know that Jake Paul has been out there and he's typically taking on people that are way older than him, like Mike Tyson, who's 58, Anderson Silva, who was way past his prime, people like Nate Diaz, who were way smaller. Gervonta Davis really did take the piss. I mean, that was just the craziest shout ever. To go from fighting Gervonta Davis, way smaller, to now fighting boxing Francis Ngannou. I mean, listen, if he does it, fair play. But I just call number one bull on this brother.